A Japanese schoolgirl is brutally abused by her teacher and meets a tragic end in the snow. However, the male classmate who has a crush on her becomes the perpetrator. Suffering such an unjust accusation, the man decides to turn against the city. This is the latest psychological crime thriller we dive into today, called Suzuki Bakudan. A mysterious drifter named Tagosaku Suzuki has no money to buy alcohol, so in a fit of rage, he not only lashes out at a vending machine, but also assaults the liquor store owner. After being taken into custody, Tagosaku Suzuki shows no remorse and claims to be a self-proclaimed psychic with the ability to foresee the future. He states that if the police compensate the liquor store owner and let him go, he will reveal a seeker about an upcoming bombing incident somewhere in Tokyo. Izo Todoroki, who is in charge of the interrogation naturally, does not believe such ridiculous nonsense. But what he does not expect is that just past 10 meters a subordinate bursts into the interrogation room and tells him a blast just erupts near Akihabara station, leaving many innocent passersby critically injured. Right at this moment, Tagosaku Suzuki, who sits opposite him, suddenly shows a thoughtful expression and then speaks in a calm tone. He delivers an even more terrifying prophecy. His alleged intuition tells him that there are 3 rounds of explosions from now on, and the next one happens in 1 hour. Izo Todoroki does not believe in superpowers at all. In his eyes, Tagosaku Suzuki, who keeps pretending to be a prophet, is exactly the suspected orchestrator who planted a device. Unfortunately, an hour is about to pass, but the police still find no clues about the bombing incident. Since things come to this, Izo Todoroki has to play along with Tagosaku Suzuki's claims and admire that he indeed has the ability to foresee the future. He also begs him to predict the location where the next blast erupts. But Tagosaku Suzuki says his alleged intuition is not enough right now. He needs to watch an exciting baseball game to stimulate his brain. Only then can he recover his alleged intuition to continue predicting. Just as he is about to introduce his favorite team, Izo Todoroki looks at his watch and realizes it is past 11 p.m. He then reminds Tagosaku Suzuki that his alleged intuition completely fails. Another bombing incident does not happen at all. Unexpectedly at this moment, the recorder eye suddenly receives urgent news that a blast just erupts near the baseball stadium, causing a large number of civilian injuries. Obviously, Tagosaku Suzuki talks about the baseball game earlier just to hint at the explosion location to Izo Todoroki. This incident already causes a massive uproar in society. Once these 2 bombing incidents occur, the police headquarters immediately sends Major Crime Division Agent Kiyomiya and interrogation genius Ruik to take over the case. When Izo Todoroki hands over the work to them, only Tagosaku Suzuki and Eyes remain in the interrogation room. With nothing to do, Tagosaku Suzuki suddenly tells Eyes about a special experience from his student days. At that time, a beautiful fabricated classmate in their class is dragged into the snow after school where she is attacked and never makes it home. Because Tagosaku Suzuki always has a crush on her, he is identified by everyone as the perpetrator. Although the real perpetrator is eventually revealed to be a schoolteacher, Tagosaku Suzuki is still unable to let this go after so many years. He says that pinning a crime he does not commit on him makes him wish he actually does it. Tagosaku Suzuki deliberately says this to hint that Eyes should not wrongfully accuse him otherwise. He creates an even bigger bombing incident. Shortly after, Kiyomiya and Ruik walk into the interrogation room. Facing Kiyomiya's request to predict the explosion location, Tagosaku Suzuki still makes the excuse that his alleged intuition is insufficient. But this time he does not ask to watch a baseball game to stimulate his brain, and instead wants to play the Nine Tails game with the wise-looking Kiyomiya. This is a psychological test game of questions and answers, requiring the questioner to determine the true personality of the respondent through 9 questions. Kiyomiya plays along in order to quickly find clues for the next bombing incident. Kiyomiya has no choice but to play along. Tagosaku Suzuki's first 3 questions are just about Kiyomiya's childhood experiences. It is not until the 4th question that he finally asks about work-related matters. He also brings up a name that surprises everyone present, which is Yuko Heisebi. Officer Yuko Heisebi is one of the rare superiors in the police department who is willing to promote his juniors. Even the current police chief owes him a favor, but no one expects that such a respected senior actually has severe psychological problems. This ultimately leads him to engage in disturbing misconduct at an incident scene. Before long, this scandal becomes known to everyone. Overwhelmed with shame, Yuko Heisebi ends his life in a railway tragedy. In Kiyomiya's view, Tagosaku Suzuki does not bring up Yuko Heisebi for no reason. Therefore, he immediately orders Izo Todoroki to investigate Yuko Heisebi's relatives. He wants to see if they can uncover Tagosaku Suzuki's true identity. At the same time, he launches a counterattack by interrogating Tagosaku Suzuki. Kiyomiya proves to be a veteran detective because his very first question makes it impossible for Tagosaku Suzuki to answer directly. He asks if Tagosaku Suzuki just gets a haircut. For an ordinary person, having neat hair is completely normal, but on a sloppy, mysterious drifter like Tagosaku Suzuki, it seems highly unusual. The truth is exactly as Kiyomiya expects. Although Tagosaku Suzuki remains calm, he keeps changing the subject. This is enough to prove that he feels guilty. And the act of doing his hair also shows that in Tagosaku Suzuki's mind today is a very important day. Based solely on these two pieces of information, Kiyomiya figures out that the Tagosaku Suzuki in front of him has no so-called superpowers at all. He is just an arrogant, suspected orchestrator who wants to use explosions to show off how unique he is. Thinking of this, Kiyomiya stops asking questions and instead lets Tagosaku Suzuki finish his remaining two questions. Unexpectedly, Tagosaku Suzuki is in no rush to ask questions and even chats with Kiyomiya about the names of major baseball teams. At the same time, he unconsciously holds up one finger. He states bluntly that many baseball teams name themselves after various animals, but teams that use bulls as their names are extremely rare. This puzzles him greatly. After all, cattle not only appear in mythology, but are also extremely delicious food in reality. For example, his favorite dish is grilled beef tongue. It is not until Tagosaku Suzuki slowly holds up three fingers that Kiyomiya's assistant Ruik finally realizes Tagosaku Suzuki is hinting at the time and location of the next explosion. After careful analysis, Ruik discovers that besides Nine Tails, Tagosaku Suzuki is also playing a pun game with the police. For example, a mythological name for a bull sounds exactly like Kudan, and the word tongue in beat. Tongue sounds just like Shida, which means under. In other words, the next explosion location is right in the Kudenshida neighborhood. The most famous place there is a newspaper office that operates for many years. The police then immediately dispatch officers to head to the newspaper office for a thorough search. However, they find absolutely nothing. Just as everyone suspects Ruik might be wrong, Officer Sarakota suddenly remembers that it will soon be newspaper delivery time. So the bomb might not be inside the newspaper office, but rather on an electric delivery bike. Therefore, the police immediately start a citywide search for all the electric delivery bikes. Eventually, Sarakota and her senior Tato Yabuki successfully find the electric bike rigged with a timed device and ride it far away from the residential area, immediately after the device goes off. Although this explosion causes no casualties, the police still find no evidence of Tagosaku Suzuki's crimes, let alone the next explosion location. Therefore, Kiyomiya has no choice but to continue playing the game with Tagosaku Suzuki. This time, Tagosaku Suzuki asks a question about whether all lives are equal. Kiyomiya believes they are, but Tagosaku Suzuki has a completely different view. In his view, many people divide others into different classes based on their social status, and Kiyomiya is no exception. Speaking of this, Tagosaku Suzuki unexpectedly raises one finger again. Seeing this, Ruik immediately pays full attention. Tagosaku Suzuki says that when he sleeps rough in Yoyogi Park, a newly opened kindergarten nearby causes him to be woken up every morning, which annoys him greatly. He sometimes wants to tell those little brats to be a bit quieter. Hearing this, Kiyomiya immediately guesses that Tagosaku Suzuki's next target is the kindergarten. So he immediately rushes out of the interrogation room and requests the chief to order the evacuation of the kindergartens near Yoyogi Park. Just as everyone in the police station runs to the kindergarten to search for the device, Ruik thinks things are not that simple. He strongly feels that Tagosaku Suzuki has other clues he does not reveal yet. But Kiyomiya, who is solely focused on saving the children, has no mind to listen to Ruik's baseless analysis. Meanwhile, Tagosaku Suzuki, who stays in the interrogation room all night, finally has time to go to the restroom. He is very grateful to Aiz for not telling Kiyomiya the story of his student days. He decides to give him the credit, but on the condition that Aiz must find a way to help him locate his lost phone. Because it contains too many unspeakable secrets, he hopes to delete them before other police officers find it. While Aiz hesitates, Izo Todoroki already arrives at the home of Yuko Haseby's widow Asuka Ishikawa. Ever since Yuko Haseby died in a railway tragedy, his family not only has to pay a massive compensation to the railway company, but also suffers online harassment from the media. Their son Tatsuma Ishikawa does not want to live this kind of life, so he runs away from home and disappears ever since. Izo Todoroki infers from this that Tatsuma Ishikawa might be Tagosaku Suzuki's accomplice, which is why the latter brings up Yuko Haseby's name. Meanwhile, the police already successfully find the bomb placed in the kindergarten. In Kiyomiya's view, the next explosion is destined not to happen, meaning Tagosaku Suzuki's alleged intuition fails, so he has no choice but to admit defeat and confess his crimes. Unexpectedly, Tagosaku Suzuki is completely unmoved and even reminds Kiyomiya that he still has one last question left to ask. As soon as he finishes speaking, Kiyomiya receives an urgent text message stating that a severe bombing incident occurs in Yoyogi Park, leaving many homeless people living there critically injured. The kindergarten is in the north of the park, but the real explosion site is at the south gate. After watching the news, Rook finally understands that Tagosaku Suzuki's 8th question is actually a multiple-choice question. He places bombs both at the homeless shelter and the kindergarten. His purpose is to test Kiyomiya to see who he chooses to save between a group of homeless people and young children. Unexpectedly, Kiyomiya already gives the answer before Tagosaku Suzuki even finishes his question. Looking at Tagosaku Suzuki, who is still extremely smug after causing the deaths, Kiyomiya grabs his index finger in a fit of rage and violently injures it. Unexpectedly, although Tagosaku Suzuki screams in pain, he is mostly just thrilled. This is because in this round of the game, he proves that Kiyomiya is actually a hypocrite. He points out that Kiyomiya must be secretly glad the children do not lose their lives, even though he claims all lives are equal. Then Tagosaku Suzuki announces that they will play the next round. Hearing this, the others are instantly shocked, because it means the bombing incident is not over yet. Meanwhile, Tado Yabuki and Sarakota already arrive at Tagosaku Suzuki's rental apartment following the address on his phone. It turns out that Aiz eventually fails to resist the temptation of getting the credit and chooses to dispatch Tado Yabuki and his partner to help find Tagosaku Suzuki's phone. But when they find the phone, they discover an address written on the back. Tado Yabuki and Sarakota believe it must be Tagosaku Suzuki's address, which is why they rush over. However, what they do not expect is that they actually see the long-lost Tatsuma Ishikawa. But at this time, Tatsuma Ishikawa is found unresponsive. As Tado Yabuki approaches the remains, a crisp click suddenly comes from under his foot. He immediately realizes he triggered a hidden device. He wants to warn Sarakota not to come closer, but unfortunately it is too late. Tatsuma Ishikawa's remains erupt in a blast instantly. Sarakota is protected by Tado Yabuki, who stands in front of her so she remains unharmed. However, Tado Yabuki suffers a life-changing leg injury. Soon the people in the interrogation room also receive this news. Seeing this, Tagosaku Suzuki states bluntly that the second round already begins. Aiz finally realizes that Tagosaku Suzuki plays him. To make up for his mistake, he states he will talk about the case of the victimized girl, hoping Kiyomiya can use it to uncover Tagosaku Suzuki's identity. Unexpectedly, Tagosaku Suzuki actually tells him that he makes up the story about the girl. No one is attacked in the snow at all. Knowing what happens, Kiyomiya does not blame Aiz, since even he is no match for Tagosaku Suzuki. Right now, they can only pin their hopes on Ruik. Based on the clues they currently have, Ruik deduces that after Tatsuma Ishikawa runs away from home, he meets the equally homeless Tagosaku Suzuki. So the two decide to rent an apartment together. In Ruik's view, Tatsuma Ishikawa, who is a top chemistry student, is the alleged architect of the bombing incident. Tagosaku Suzuki is at best just a sidekick. He does not believe Tagosaku Suzuki's claim that there will be another bombing incident at noon. As Ruik expects, the whole city of Tokyo is completely peaceful at noon that day. But everyone in Tokyo receives a video. It is recorded by Tagosaku Suzuki before his arrest. He states in the video that he places many bombs in Tokyo, and they will explode once certain conditions are met. At the end of the video, he also claims that he is recorded under duress by the perpetrator who excels at hypnosis and can erase people's memories. Although 4 explosions already happened since last night, Tagosaku Suzuki's final words actually make most people think he is just an attention-seeking internet troll. So everyone shares the video as a joke. However, Ruik receives news again that 2 other remains are also found in the house where Tatsuma Ishikawa dies, and they both die after ingesting a toxic substance. This information further verifies Ruik's theory. The real perpetrators who plant the bombs are always Tatsuma, Ishikawa, and the other 2 deceased. Tagosaku Suzuki is merely executing their orders. Now that all 3, including Tatsuma Ishikawa, meet a fatal outcome, Ruik hopes Tagosaku Suzuki stops causing trouble. He believes that even a mysterious drifter like Tagosaku Suzuki has someone he cares about. However, what he does not expect is that the thing Tagosaku Suzuki truly cares about is not a human being at all, but a hat. It turns out Tagosaku Suzuki is mocked since childhood because of his bald spots until one day a kind stranger gives him a hat. Just halfway through the story, another video recorded by Tagosaku Suzuki goes online. This time, Tagosaku Suzuki tells the netizens that when the views of the previous video reach a certain level, this video is automatically triggered, meaning a blast is about to erupt somewhere in Tokyo. He also kindly reminds the netizens that right now in all of Tokyo, only the police station detaining him is safe. As soon as these words come out, the entire city of Tokyo begins to fall into panic. Only Ruik does not panic at all, because since Tatsuma Ishikawa is the alleged architect, the place he is most likely to plant a device is the train station where his father Yuko Haseby commits suicide. Ruik even deduces. The explosion time is the exact moment Yuko Haseby jumps onto the tracks, which is 4 p.m. Tagosaku Suzuki admires Ruik's deductive skills, but he gets one thing wrong. The explosion site is not just one single station, but stations across Tokyo. Hearing this, Ruik immediately notifies the chief to search all the stations across Tokyo. However, the workload is simply too massive, so they search for a long time but find absolutely nothing. What is worse is that the outside of the stations is already packed with citizens waiting to take the subway. To maintain social stability, the higher-ups already plan to lift the evacuation order. Learning this news, Ruik can only beg Kiyomiya to help stall for a little longer. Although Ruik cannot provide any solid evidence, Kiyomiya still chooses to help him buy time Eve if it means having a massive argument with his superiors. Meanwhile, after asking around, Izo Todoroki, who is out on field duty, discovers that one of the deceased in the rental apartment used to be a beverage deliveryman. So he immediately calls Ruik to tell him the bombs are very likely hidden inside the station vending machines. However, just as Ruik is about to notify the other officers, he is told that the higher-ups already lift the order under public pressure and massive crowds are pouring into the stations. Sure enough, in the next second, the majority of train stations in Tokyo erupt in blasts one after another. Widespread casualties immediately occur among the passengers. Upon hearing this news, Ruik almost collapses but quickly controls his emotions. This is because he just makes a new discovery. In the previous bombing incidents, Tagosaku Suzuki always treats the explosion locations as puzzles for the police to guess. However, this time he purposely does not do so, and there is only one reason. It is because even he does not know exactly which stations will erupt in blasts. Obviously, Ruik's previous reasoning has no glaring errors. Tatsuma Ishikawa is the alleged architect of the bombing incident. However, he probably never intends for Tagosaku Suzuki to execute the plan. Yet Tagosaku Suzuki not only helps him complete the plan, but even personally orchestrates faux bombing incidents. It is clear he wants to take the blame for all the crimes. This leaves Ruik deeply puzzled. At this moment, Tagosaku Suzuki suddenly recites a poem out of nowhere. Aiz recognizes it as a famous line by Takuboku Ishikawa. Ruik finally realizes that everything Tagosaku Suzuki does is for Yuko Haseby's wife Asuka Ishikawa. Not long after Yuko Haseby passes away, the Ishikawa family is forced to become unhoused. It is around that time Asuka Ishikawa meets Tagosaku Suzuki and kindly gives him her hat. This fills Tagosaku Suzuki with gratitude. Not long ago, Tatsuma Ishikawa, who wants to take revenge on society, fatally poisons his two accomplices to prevent the plan from leaking. Unexpectedly, his mother Asuka Ishikawa accidentally discovers his plan. Asuka Ishikawa does not want her son to go down a point of no return, but unexpectedly causes Tatsuma Ishikawa to be found unresponsive by mistake during their dispute. After Tagosaku Suzuki learns about this, he decides to become Tatsuma Ishikawa's fall guy, because only by doing this can he let Asuka Ishikawa live a peaceful life. And to manipulate the legal outcome, Tagosaku Suzuki also sends a fake bomb to Asuka Ishikawa. This is simply because he knows that the kind-hearted Asuka Ishikawa will definitely choose to go to the police station for a final mutual destruction with him to stop him from causing further harm. And when everyone knows it is a dummy device, the police will have to lock Tagosaku Suzuki up forever in order to find the other live device. The film also ends here. Rather than calling this movie a crime film, it is more like a psychological crime thriller. Those explosions that happen in the stations are certainly terrifying. But what is most chilling is the unfathomable inner world of each person. After all, sometimes just a momentary lapse in judgment can lead to irreversible and lifelong regrettable consequences. That is all for today's story. I am the narrator. See you next time.